After hosting his family for 6 days straight, I collapsed from exhaustion. My father-in-law stepped over me and said, "Drama again?" My husband didn't even look down. She's always making it about her. I lay there, numb. But the message I sent that night was the first step to, I'm not young anymore. I'm 44. I've been with David since I was 29. When we met, he was charming in that quiet, reliable way. He wasn't a talker, not the romantic type, but he was steady. I thought that meant safe. I mistook that for love. We've lived in Richmond for 10 years now. We bought a house together, built the life. Or I thought we did. The truth is, I built it. I filled it with warmth and food and holiday traditions. David filled it with silence. His family has always been a lot. Loud. Demanding. Passive-aggressive. But it's just how they are, as he likes to say. Every Thanksgiving, they take over our house. All of them. His parents, his sisters, their husbands, the kids. 11 people total, not including us. I cook for everyone. I do the grocery runs, plan the meals, fold the laundry, make the beds, even refill their shampoo in the guest bathroom. David? He disappears. Hangs out with his brother-in-law in the garage, watching college football. If I ask for help, I get the same sigh and the same words. They're only here once a year. Just get through it. But this year was different. I'd been sick for weeks. Nothing major at first, just a cough, then a fever that wouldn't quit. I saw a doctor a week before Thanksgiving. He told me I needed rest. Real rest. Not sit down for 10 minutes rest. I told David. I begged him to ask his sisters to host this year. He brushed it off. They booked flights. They're excited. We'll manage, he said. So, I managed. I pushed through. Monday, I scrubbed the bathrooms. Tuesday, I cooked ahead, pies, stuffing, cranberry sauce. By Thursday, I was sweating through my clothes just standing up. My joints ached. My skin felt too tight. They never noticed. They just kept eating and complaining. The turkey was dry. The wine was warm. Why don't you have a proper mudroom? His mom asked. Some of us are tracking in snow. By Friday, I was dizzy. I almost fainted carrying a tray of coffee. But I kept going. I didn't want to be the problem. That's the role they've always assigned me. The difficult one, the emotional one, the one who needs so much. Saturday morning, I got up early to prep breakfast. I was refilling the coffee carafe when my vision started to tunnel. I felt my knees give way. My shoulder hit the counter on the way down. And then I was on the floor. It wasn't graceful. It wasn't quiet. But it happened. And then I heard it. Drama again? That was his father. Like I was pulling some stunt. Like I'd done this before, for attention. David didn't even turn around. She's always making it about her, he said. That hurt more than the fall. That one sentence took 12 years of marriage and burned it down in 5 seconds. I was lying there, too weak to sit up, and they just stepped around me. Like I was furniture. No one got down to help. No one asked if I needed an ambulance. Later, I crawled to the bedroom. I stayed there the rest of the day. No one came in. Not even David. When they finally left Sunday afternoon, David acted like nothing had happened. He asked if I wanted to go out for dinner. That night, when he fell asleep next to me, I pulled out my phone and texted my brother. We hadn't spoken in 3 years. Not since David started whispering things after our mom died, how Mark was trying to steal my share, how he was manipulating me. David made me cut him off. He said Mark was poison. I see now, David just didn't want me to have anyone. He needed me isolated. Controlled. Alone. I texted. You were right. I'm sorry. I need help. Mark replied 5 minutes later. I've been waiting 3 years for this. I'm here. That was the start. I didn't leave right away. I wasn't strong enough. I still had the fever, still felt weak. But something had changed. I'd stopped making excuses for David. That voice in my head, the one that always said, just keep the peace, was finally quiet, replaced by something colder. Sharper. I didn't tell David I'd reconnected with Mark. I kept that to myself. Mark and I started talking every night after David went to bed. He reminded me who I was before all this. Before I became someone else's servant. Mark still lived in Maryland, about 3 hours away. He offered to come down that week. I told him not yet. I had to move carefully. David didn't get loud when he was angry. He got quiet, manipulative. He'd twist things, make me feel small, unsure. I had to be smart. The first step was financial. I opened a new checking account in my name only. I used my maiden name. I had to go to 3 different banks before I found one that didn't flag David as a cosigner. I lied, said it was for freelance work. The manager didn't question it. Then I started moving money. Little by little. I had access to all our accounts. David had set it up that way, thinking I'd never use it. I transferred $300 here, $500 there. Small enough to not trigger alerts. I kept the cash in a lockbox under the guest room dresser, hidden behind old photo albums he never looked at. The next hit came a week later. David's mom called. She said they were thinking of coming down again for Christmas. We had such a lovely time, she said. And David said you'd be feeling better by then. I could barely breathe. He'd already told them yes. I waited until he got home that night. You invited your family again? I asked. He didn't even look up from his phone. It's Christmas. You're not still milking that collapse, are you? Something in my face must have changed, because he finally looked at me. Oh, come on. You fainted. Big deal. I was sick, I said. The doctor told me to rest. You didn't care. You always want to be the victim, he said. Your brother poisoned your brain. I hadn't even told him I'd spoken to Mark. That's how fast he defaulted to blame. That night, I took out the lockbox and counted what I'd saved for $1,300. Not enough. But a start. Then something happened I didn't expect. David started going through my phone. I caught him standing in the hallway at 2 a.m., holding it. He'd guessed the passcode. Who's this number? He asked, holding it up to my face. 301 area code? Is that Mark? He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. His face said everything. Cold. Calculating. The kind of look that says, you're mine and you're not going anywhere. Elite. Said it was a coworker. He didn't believe me. The next morning, my phone was gone. Then, he cut the Wi-Fi. Then, the debit card I used for groceries stopped working. I asked him about it. We're a one-income household, he said. You don't need separate cards. He was closing the walls in. Quietly. Legally. That's when I realized. I wasn't planning to leave. I was escaping. I knew I couldn't outmuscle David. He had control of the house, the accounts, the car titles. But what he didn't know was that I wasn't alone anymore. Mark had quietly hired a lawyer for me. A woman named Jordan, out of Alexandria. Sharp, direct, no patience for bullshit. We spoke over Signal, using a phone Mark mailed me. It looked like a cheap burner, but it worked. I kept it hidden inside an old cereal box in the pantry. Jordan told me something I hadn't known. Virginia is an equitable distribution state. That meant the assets could be divided fairly, but not always 50/50. And if I could prove financial abuse, emotional coercion, or alienation from my family, it would tip the scale. That's when I started documenting. I kept a notebook hidden inside the lining of an old winter coat. Every time David shut off the Wi-Fi, froze a card, read my messages, I wrote it down. Dates, times, screenshots when I could. He was too arrogant to think I'd fight back. But then, twist number 1, I found something I wasn't looking for. I was cleaning out the junk drawer one afternoon while David was gone. I needed to look busy, keep up appearances. That's when I found the envelope, tucked behind old manuals and screws. It was thick. Inside were printed emails. Not his. Mine. Private ones. Ones I'd sent to old friends years ago, complaining about his family, venting about fights, things I barely remembered. He'd printed them out. Some were highlighted. Some had notes in the margins. He should never see this. She's emotional. Unstable. He'd been collecting a case against me. For years. I took photos of every page and sent them to Jordan. Her message back was fast. This changes things. Twist number 2 came from someone I never expected. His sister, Rachel. We'd never been close. She always seemed to enjoy my discomfort a little too much. But 2 weeks before Christmas, she showed up at my door alone. I didn't let her in at first. "I just need 5 minutes," she said.
Please.
We sat at the kitchen table. She looked thinner than I remembered. Tired. "I know what David is," she said. "He learned it from our dad." She told me about their childhood. Their mother was controlled, isolated, made to feel like she couldn't leave. Rachel had spent her teen years planning her escape. "I stayed quiet because I thought you knew what you signed up for," she said. "But after Thanksgiving, I saw what he did. I saw how he talked about you." She handed me a flash drive. "He's been sending emails to his lawyer. He wants to say you're mentally unstable, that you've been hiding money. He's trying to build grounds for full financial control." I asked how she got it. "I borrowed his laptop while he was drunk," she said. "Don't thank me. Just get out." Twist number 3 hit 2 days later. David's company filed for bankruptcy. He hadn't said a word. I found out when the power was shut off. Then the water. I called the utility company and they told me the accounts had been closed. He'd been spiraling for months, gambling on bad investments, draining savings behind my back. All while he cut me off from cash, the internet, and my own family. But here's the real twist. He thought he'd buried me under his lies. Instead, his lies became my proof. The day I left was a Tuesday. Cold. Gray sky, like the whole world had gone quiet. I waited until David left for his job, even though I knew by then there was no job anymore, just empty meetings and lies. I already had everything ready. The lockbox, the burner phone, the flash drive from Rachel, the notes I'd taken, and copies of every document Jordan said I'd need. Mark pulled up in an old truck. I hadn't seen him in person in almost 4 years. He didn't say anything at first. He just opened the door, reached for my suitcase, and looked me in the eye. That was enough. We drove straight to a safe house Jordan arranged, a quiet place outside Fredericksburg. No one knew I was there except Mark and her. The legal filings went out the next day. David was served at home. Alone. I made sure of it. The papers included a petition for divorce, full documentation of financial manipulation, emotional abuse, and a motion for emergency spousal support with asset freeze. His accounts were locked by the following Monday. He tried to call. Left voicemails. Angry at first, then panicked. "You're making a mistake. You can't survive without me. I'll ruin you." I didn't respond. Then came the smear campaign. He told his family I was unhinged, that I'd stolen from him, that I was brainwashed by Mark. He even posted about me online, long rants about how he'd loved a broken woman and paid the price. But it didn't work, because I had proof. Screenshots. Letters. The flash drive. Rachel backed me up. So did a friend I hadn't spoken to in years, the one he'd accused of manipulating me. She came forward with her own emails from back when David had tried to isolate me. The judge saw through him. The court froze what was left of his assets. The house was sold, and I got more than half, especially after Jordan exposed how he'd secretly drained joint funds to cover personal debt. He tried to deny it. She had the paper trail. I also got a court order for spousal support. His small severance went straight to me. But the part that mattered most wasn't money. It was standing in court, in front of him, and reading the full statement I'd written, looking him dead in the eye, while I told the judge about the Thanksgiving collapse, the emails, the bank cards, the way he walked around my body like I was nothing. And seeing his face crack when I said, "You didn't break me. You just woke me up." After the judgment, I cut contact completely. No calls.
No texts.
No more letting his voice live in my head. Rachel stopped speaking to him. His parents went quiet too, probably embarrassed once the full truth came out. Turns out people like to pretend they didn't know what was happening, until it makes them look bad. Mark and I are rebuilding. It's slow. It's awkward sometimes. But it's real. I'm living in a small town outside Charlottesville now. I rent a place with a porch and a garden. I sleep through the night. I make coffee for myself. I read. I breathe. And sometimes on cold gray mornings, I remember lying on that kitchen floor, not with shame anymore, with pride, because that was the day I started getting up.